afternoon to you, our dear esteemed viewers. Welcome back to this episode of the Youth Roundtable. My name is Douglas Onen, and I'm your host for today's discussion. And just to give context to what we're discussing today we are having an analysis of the youth grassroots elections that concluded last week on Thursday. This was the third and final special interest groups that was organized by the EC on the roadmap of the year 2025-2026. And joining me to give a perspective to this very interesting topic is a panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen who will help us put perspective to the conversation. In no particular order, I'll begin from my immediate left. A gentleman who has been on the show a couple of times. He's a youth leader. Aruho Brian, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, and thanks to you and Civic Space for the continuous invitations.
Thank you. Looking forward to having an interesting conversation with you.
Surely.
Congratulations, Miss Leni Latifah, for winning the position in your village. I think it's in Mulago?
Mulago.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Welcome.
Yes. Right next to Leni, we have a gentleman who is part of the family. Soon I'll start referring him as the old man of the clan. Should I? Mr. Masawi Ivan. Yes. Congratulations as well for winning in your village in Maganjo. Maganjo said in Mbale.
Yes, Drake, thank you very much. It is really an honor and privilege to be here to join my colleagues to see that we discuss in context issues that are most pertinent to the young people's governance and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Masawi, let me just start with you. Being part of this special interest elections, very many young people are not familiar to the election that have actually been going on. And very many young people as well are not familiar with the college vote system that the special interest groups go through. Maybe you can walk us through the process and then we can have an analysis on how the process went down.
Thank you. Before I go through the little history, personally, I also participated at my village, which is a cell since it is in a city, and I was voted as secretary for finance for the village to advance maybe to the next level. But the National Youth Council Act 1993 has establishes voting of the various leadership for the youth from the village, parish, sub-county, stroke, city division. Then you go to the city, then you formulate the National Youth Council, then it later brings up the youth MPs and the National Delegates Conferences as the top making organ for the young people. In 1995, that is the 5th Parliament, Benny Watch and the likes moved a law in Parliament to see that voting of special interest groups is reviewed every 10 years. There was supposed to be a review in 2005, a review in 2015, and a review in 2025. The review of 2015 did change from voting by ballot to voting by lining up. That was, it is called the National Youth Act amended 2015. It is what stipulated the current methodological way of voting, of lining up. So, the voting is first established by law. Secondly, it happens before, in most cases, the Electoral Commission has always organized it, I think for all times I've known it, before the main election, because these colleges bring into office other people. For example, Parliament can only exist when also these colleges have produced their leaders for Parliament. So the colleges are more of a framework or a shoulder to uphold certain offices also to reflect in the national governance system. So with that history, I think this year there has been no review. We had expected a review because the National Youth Manifesto 2021-2026, in part of the requests that the Honorable Bernard Odoi, who represents the Youth Committee in Parliament, was that they set into some amendments in the Act to see that the voting, for example, we increase youth MPs per region to have a male and female, but also see that in the Honorable Mafias Mpuga's bill of electoral reforms, he advocates to see that an MP represents a tune of 150,000 to 200,000 people, to reduce the slots of constituency MPs by 100, but also create a gap to see that we increase effective leadership of young people who are now the majority by demographic organization. So these were some of the things that in the 5 years of the current National Youth Manifesto, the only thing they achieved is being merged and maybe being cut. They started with 4 billion shillings. Lately they are operating on 300 million. The National Youth Council Executive is responsible for all these leaders up to the village. So if you can divide 300 million by 72,000 villages, I doubt if your village in Gulu can receive even 50,000 for the youth committee to sit and say the 9 of them never wasted their time, but they have 50,000 to run a project of 10 hens. So, in conclusion, I will give maybe what I've observed with time, but it is a space where young people need to explore to see that at least even if the engagement and effectiveness we may discuss, but at least it does uphold you to start a career at a national level.
Interesting. Brian, from the historical analysis that Ivan gives us, we get to know where this has come from. But now let's bring it back to date. In the year 2024, the Electoral Commission in the month of August released a roadmap. And of course, starting this year around the month of May, we saw political parties like the National Resistance Movement. Later on, in other months, like in April we saw the National Resistance Movement push out its roadmap. We also later on saw the National Unity Platform, among other political parties, come up with a roadmap. And of course, the beginning of the roadmap starts with the election of the special interest groups and at the grassroots level elections. What are your thoughts, or let us now try to look at the activities that have gone on. I want to pick your thoughts on your analysis of the going-ons that has happened in the recently concluded grassroots elections, particularly from the angle of young people.
Thank you so much. I think from the angle of young people, we've noticed two things. That there are, one, children of people, and then there are us, the other children of the state. And she laughs about it, but it's a sad reality. Yeah. In the scenario that, as Masawi has told you, when you have a framework, the basic thing is saying, let's follow how the framework, what the framework provides for till the end result. Being that, if NRM, if I affiliate with NRM, that means I am a registered member of that party, because you cannot contest when you're not a registered member of any party. If I am registered to, like the way she is, under NUP.
I'm not under NUP.
Oh, sorry. If you are registered under any political party and they bring out a roadmap, you are supposed to contest under that and then until the point that you're voted. Now, NRM released around, I think it did a general mobilization exercise 2 times. And yes, people expressed interest and people picked up for went into contest. I'll tell you that a number of districts in Uganda had children of people going through, whether they wanted or not. So that means if I was in a race with a child of so-and-so, the usual scenario that we're getting is that these people's camp would tell you, oh, you know, this is so-and-so's child. So for harmony to exist, please stand down on this person. But it now brings us to the issue of competence. You're having people occupy these positions just because
they're
a child of someone. You're not looking at, do they think, do they have the oratory skills, do they have the mandatory leadership skills? You're now having pictures. Now that kills our youth leadership at the other level of saying, now we've reached National Youth Council at that stage. Yeah. Because the bill that is talking about that Honorable Doi, but was a very good one of saying, let's have 2 youth MPs, a male and a female. But again, it will be the same case scenario. And I think one of the regions that has been most hit with that is the Western region, saying that they usually have children of, there is a particular family that has engulfed the position of youth MP in Western region. By and large, their extended route. And it's not the first family. So, but at least Masawi knows about that family. It has produced a youth MP who later on went and contested that in his constituency and won, and the father was still MP, the son became MP.
No, but it is no shy. It said the Ramyama Bakamwine is not a stranger to us. He's still young, he's not yet 40, and he's not a bad leader. So at least for him, he's a good leader. He should pray.
So we've had those issues. So they are children of state. The Masawis, Leni, you and I, and then the children of people. And that kills the youth political angle. But then also we've noticed that the youth league, and I do not know more about the other political parties, but I think the NRM by and large has failed to recognize and firmly establish what their youth league is supposed to do. Because you're having all these children contesting, but they don't know what exactly they are contesting for. At the end of the day, they are becoming what you would call mobilizers for a presidential campaign at the end of the day. So they do not know whether he's a minister of, if he's a minister of finance, if he has been elected as a secretary of finance. That is what they're supposed to do as per the rules that engulf that position. They are supposed to be at least somehow lenient to that. But you find that they have no running program. The only thing they have is securing your future, vote President Museveni in that lineage. So they are not empowered. They are empowered by the pictures and conferences they attend. So they have a picture with Minister so and so, they attend this conference, they are invited to this Google Space meeting. They are given opportunities as per the camera.
The facial value.
Yes, they are given the facial value, and I've talked about it. But the real point of saying now we have these policies, can we sit down and discuss about them? Can we try to lobby for something? I think NRM by and large has failed its own youth structure. And I've said it on this show a number of times. If you're to have a discussion with people in our age bracket who affiliate with the DP, that is under UID, that affiliate with FDC, that affiliate with ANT, to begin with, for starters, in their youth structure, those kids are very intelligent. Because you see, they have taken time, and even their parties have taken time to empower them. Just take a key example of how these kids, then, I don't know now, how the people at MUBS, the students at MUBS used to get the UID tickets. I was briefly told that, it was sort of a hassle because you had to be competent.
You have to build your ground.
Yes, you have to build the ground. It's the same thing with ANT. One of the aspirants at Makere, back then when he was still very active, I think 2021.
Let me just hold you there on that point, because we're going to dissect political parties and the role it plays in mentoring young people further into the discussion.
Right.
But I properly ascertain the arguments that you raise, which we shall also look deeper into. One, the politics of identity that has risen paramount in the special interest group selections. But also you bring out a very key issue of what is the role of the NRM Youth League. Something that still lingers. We see positions, but we don't know exactly what they do, but rather mobilization. We shall dissect that. But let me come to you, Leni. You have been in the race. You have experienced it firsthand. What is your view, and what did you pick during your race?
Thank you so much. During my race, when I was contesting for Secretary of Female Affairs in Mulago, what I can tell you is, honestly, most of the youth that we engage with, we have had a large number of youth coming up that are interested in positions. This time we have done a lot of awareness in our home area, whereby we reach out to every youth and tell them, you have a chance. That was before the village elections took place. We talk to people and tell them, you have a chance to stand up and come and contest. I can't say that in my race it was competitive because I was unopposed. So,
did you, and that is something significantly we have seen in almost every part of the country. So do you have hopes of maybe going up for other positions?
Yes, I have hopes of going up.
Okay, so in your opinion, do you think the race was free and fair?
I will speak for my home area since it's where I was.
It's okay.
In my home area, specifically, since all of us align with the national resistance movement, most of the people in our area, like, they felt that they are, you know, as someone young, I have a choice to go where I want, or as an individual. So most people, it was your choice to say that maybe I will contest and go under the National Unity Platform, or I'll go under NRM. But in our home area, we had majority of youth saying we want to go and ally under the NRM. So in our home area, actually, we have, let's say that it's mulago, so people expect it's Kampala, people are aware and all that, but the majority of youth, they are not interested in leadership positions. They are more of like, since we have maybe you who has been having a leadership position before this, you can be able to transfer the information to us. Most of the youth are giving up on contesting for these positions because of, they are like, now even though we get these positions, we are not going to get enough say or platform, because remember, National Youth Council is the one that heads the overall. So even though there are projects they have, it takes a very long time for the funds to reach up to village level for them to do a project. So sometimes, like home, we come up with projects, but some projects we have to finance them ourselves if we have them at home. Because I'm not going to wait for the funds to come from up to do projects for my people. So I believe with parties, if you are maybe under a youth league or a party, you are not a mobilizer, you are a leader by the time you contest. So me as a leader, as Secretary of Female Affairs for people in my home area, I do not believe that it ties me to only look at the affairs of young ladies in my area, but what change can the youth in our area have? We have high rates of unemployment. If you talk to people at home, everyone is like, we don't want to participate in politics or anything like that, but everything in Uganda is politics. Bad roads, in case maybe the medical bills are high, that is politics as well. So most people feel like even though we participate, we are not getting what we want. The youth are not engaged well. How best are we bringing things back to the people in our villages? Because most people feel like, even the recent people I'm with on my current committee, they feel like even though we have these positions, we are not getting the impact we need. People need the youth empowerment in terms of, if I have, most people study, they reach university, others maybe stop halfway, but they do not have the funds to come up with the projects they would want to do. Because I believe not everyone is an office person.
Okay, let me just hold you there and bring in Masawi. Masawi, from the argument that we pick, a couple of issues have been raised in this discussion, but I just want us to start dissecting the issues one by one. I'll just start from the argument that has been raised by Leni. She raises that, one, the young people are not interested because they feel their plight is not heard. And in your submission, when you're giving us the historical perspective, when recently you mentioned that Honorable Onen came up with a recommendation that at least we should have 2 youth members of parliament per region, which was a recommendation that wasn't taken up. And looking at the recent population census that was conducted, we have over 8 million young people in this country. And in the Parliament of Uganda, we have over 10 MPs representing veterans who are approximately of a population of 10,000, and they have 10 members of parliament. And we have young people who are 8 million and only have 5 youth members of parliament. Help us dissect that issue of effective representation in regards to what is happening and to the context we are discussing.
The day you will get privileged to sit with someone who was in parliament in 1993 is the day you appreciate that also in Uganda knowledge has gone depreciating.
At a rapid stage.
We are blaming Museveni, but maybe our reasoning is struggling. The whole issue of formulating the National Youth Council was to have an academy for politics, a primary school for building. It was a way of having a ground that leadership. Someone doesn't wake up at 40 and is running for an MP, he has even never led 6 people. A committee of 9 people, you've never been there to lead even your family members in the village, but you want to be an MP. The whole process was made to make people appreciate the structural functioning. When you try to move around Africa, countries like Nigeria, it was actually also there as a national NYC still, but it has been more absorbed by government programs, that issues like graduate training, issues of interns in Uganda, issues concerning youth affairs, entirely lie on their shoulders, because they are responsible to understand their youthful challenges as they erupt and as the metamorphosis happens. But from your question, I think the whole issue is that even if you took time to look for where have the leaders gone, where is the Secretary for Female Affairs, she has replaced gone? No, because you should know, has it gone for councillor? Has it
disappeared
gone
in thin air
to be in Women's League? Because there is a Women's League as well.
Yes.
Has it gone for disabilities if he was disabled? The whole issue of making things for fashion and decoration in this country is becoming a culture.
But I've even said that before.
That to
When
the
NRM
extent that even someone who was a UFMP can disappear, and he after 10 years is an RDC. But so the grounding and investment the country did to see that it produces a leader who substantially goes towards levels of addressing the leadership deficiency until they expire off. I want you to interest yourself and visit Arusha at the CCM party headquarters. I've been there. You will discover that most of these things we tried to do in the 90s were a copy of what CCM was implementing in Tanzania. But today, even if you look for Victoria Mwanza or Sohoro Hasele, you will track somewhere in the system where she came from to be the party president. Apart from maybe the late His Excellency Magufuli, who came from academia direct to party president, you will track most of the Tanzania ministers where they have come in the structures of their party but also their national system. Whereas they don't have a youth law which is like ours, a bit popularistic, just to sell, but they have issues, they put issues of effective engagement, useful engagement, priority. I think the whole issue of these youth elections, why people lost interest, even in a few places you see people are fighting, they want to show ego and identity. If I buy now, but if you ask by issues of evaluation, what will you contribute, impact, it is a different story altogether. Or did we have manifestos? I went through as a Secretary of Finance for myself. What was my manifesto that I sold to the youth of my village? Now, Masawi is going to say we have a saving group on the village. Did we have manifestos? Oh, we go to fulfill a ritual that on the 19th June, yes, on the 19th June, we need to agree, we share, we coexist. So, I think, like they have said, there are places where a certain political party just sent a list. You feel it, because these are 72,000 villages. Even the ruling party NRM, if it is to go by being honest, they won't have a muscle to say that you will be, but they use the state to see that they exist everywhere. You can't expect a party in 1 week after another election to be, because they have structures, but the cost, because you know here they find someone 50k. Where do you expect the opposition parties to be getting 50k, 100? In this economy where you look at the Political Parties and Organization Act, where you need to show your funding, how money has come in, most of these parties have been left to get funds from the members they have in parliament.
So is that enough to justify the young people's disinterest in leadership?
I think the whole disinterest was caused by the elders who justified that they never wanted a system that is credible to build the young leaders out there. As long as they try to strangle, to suffocate the germination of young people into leader. You gave an example of UID. UID had an origin of being a germination bed for Democratic Party leaders. Every party that formed the Youth League looked at that Youth League as leaders that will sustain. But you ask yourself, how many of these youth leaders of these youth academies of the different political parties have made it up? It's because of the suffocation that happens up. As long as we still have, even policy-wise, we still have laws of term limits being eaten, age limits being open. Try to cause confusion but not see that causes structural compliance. You know, democracy is also something that is worked on, that is organized, that is fed, that is enriched. Democracy is like a child, it should be cared for. You will not say you're democratic because you just know it is a vocabulary, you use it.
Masawi, just as a conclusion on that point, when you're describing, because you say democracy is something that should be cared for, it should be nurtured. The elections that are carried under the special interest groups is complicated. The college vote is something many young people are not aware of. If you go into your village,
even if they are aware, now it favors those with money.
We shall get to that, because even the voting that took place in the various villages that we noticed, the time wasn't the same. The voting took place in some villages, in some villages it didn't. We shall get to those nitty-gritties and challenges. But my question isn't then the college vote election something that is sophisticated for young people to understand and participate in, to actually exercise their right to vote?
I've told you I'm a member of the Multi-Party Forum. We did send the Uganda Parliamentary Committee on Youth Affairs our recommendations, and this should be on record. Part of the recommendation we have requested is, for example, things like youth MP be voted by adult suffrage, where on the day you vote for president, you vote for your youth MP, you vote for your members of parliament. So that because every person between 18 and 30 has a national ID. I don't see why that is hard. When you look at issues of the village elections, that election be decentralized, not that it only works in the roadmap of the National Electoral Commission, but also this District Electoral Commission can, at least if they feel that one gazetted day is hard, conduct in maybe 3 months, but on different days, depending on the how. Because in Bududa it will rain whole day. What time will they get? It is a rainy season. If it rained the whole day, what time will you get to line up? In whose house? Does EC have building? It is a market day. Where will you pull youth the whole to go for something for free when they need to look for their stomach?
It's okay. Let me just hold you there, because I'm coming back to answer those questions. But let me come to you, Brian. You mentioned something that was very critical. Masawi hinted on it, on the issue of political party mentorship. Uganda Young Democrats, a youth wing that falls under the Democratic Party, has been very key.
There was UPC as well.
Yes. There was UPC, all those youth leagues that have been very fundamental in nurturing and mentoring youth leaders. Today seem to be, of course, somehow quiet, or we do not even hear much about them. I think the only youth wing that I oftentimes hear in universities is UID. But also, since now most universities are doing away with political parties in their leadership structures, it is also somewhat dying out. But I want us to focus now on the role that political parties has in, first of all, imparting values in its youth leaders. But where have we gone wrong? Because it looks like very many young people are being head by headless chicken. They don't know where they're going.
I think in this particular election, stakeholders are not limited to political parties. We have a secretary for student affairs. We have a secretary for labor affairs. We have the disabled. You don't need a political party to say you're disabled.
That's very true. But let's first ascertain and understand what is going wrong.
Thank you. I think throughout Uganda's history, in my perspective, we've had 2 political parties that have firmly embraced the understanding of the word empowerment, structural empowerment, and that is UPC and DP. That is in my view, whereas I do affiliate with the NRM. Reason is, if you're to follow then how UPC used to drill those of our chains and at that time frame, I think they were high caliber. There were guys you would sit down with, and even when you hear them explain to date, they still have that same developmental thinking and critical analysis. When you come down to DP, and I already said it before, MOBS gives you a very good understanding of how UID actually operates. When you sit down with guys that have contested under UID over the time, I do not know now this year or last year, but I think 2020 to 2023.
They are now in Alin. So what was what were they grooming?
No, but then when they were contesting for guild presidency and those respective positions, those
A lot
kids were
transparent.
they were very brilliant guys. They were outspoken, they were well organized, they were smart. I mean, both outwardly and inwardly. And so I think by and large they tried. Then you come to the two and then I think following in that line comes FDC. Under the FDC Youth League, I think they have also but again, as I said, most of the people have crossed over. But then you had the Okoris, you had them coming through, and they were very brilliant chaps, I should say. You then come to the two political parties that I think have sort of either laid a background of, I do not know the actual term to use, but NRM and NUP, I feel, have done a very great disservice to the youth political structures in Uganda.
Why?
Yes. Reason is, NRM, and I said it before, has given youth, or anyone who wants to be called a youth politician, has given them a facial value. A facial value in the term that the positions are there, but they're just there for. You're there for. You are a chairperson, but just audio, you are not going up, you are not going down, you're midway, you're just floating. Because there is nothing they do. And also their thinking capacity has been limited to, oh, this is so and so, this is so and so, I want to meet up with so and so. So it is a bedrock to being a deputy, an assistant deputy RDC, to being a deputy RDC, and under whatever they do. And NUP, on the other hand, has given them both the facial value and the numbers value. In that if you come out and you make statements like Museveni Aveko, protest vote, all those things, you are given both the value that you are a leader, but then also the numbers that come along with you affiliating with NUP. So I think by and large, we are, and now if you see most people like those of Masawi, and they're related, even you yourself, and some of our colleagues, the guys now that are taking the actual thing of saying, let's embrace and retransform this youth leadership discussion in Uganda, are those that are now looking at it from the angle of civil society organizations, from NGO perspectives, because they give you more or less a neutral ground. Yes, you might be affiliated to a certain political party, but you see here it is all about the critical thinking, the analysis. So when you see Masawi speaking, you're not going to say, oh, what political party? No. It is later on that you will get to know that it.
So your argument is the role that political parties are supposed to do in grooming and nurturing young people has now been left
to civil
society organizations
and NGOs respectively, because you see, and as well as universities, because now numerous universities have come out saying, please contest as a person. You do not go to UCU and then say I'm an NRM candidate. Neither do you go to Cavendish and say I'm an NRM candidate. You contest as a person. So then, yes, we'll know, no, Aruho is NRM, but he cannot come out and say NRM is funding me or anything in that race. So students are going to grill you as a person, because there's nothing like political party affiliation.
Let me just hold you there, and I come back to you. Let me first bring Masawi on this issue, then I come to you. Ivan, he brings a very critical analysis in regards to the role that political parties have somewhat now forgotten. He juxtaposes what NRM has done and what NUP does. NRM provides you the opportunity to have the facial value and the position, right? NUP at the same time will give you the numbers and the position instead of the facial value as well. But I have other political parties who do not give you any of that. Now, the recent elections that we have noticed, there is a trend. Previously, if you wanted to win in youth elections, you had to run under the NRM. That has been the philosophy. oftentimes. And that has been
That's what he has been saying.
Yes.
You have to cross over.
You have to cross over to NRM. And that is something we are seeing right now with many young people crossing over to the national resistance movement, because they believe there they'll have the resources, first of all, to win an election. They will have the automatic win of gaining that position. So the analysis I wanted to make is one on regards of, one, the commercialization of politics that has affected the young people to cross over to the political party without even understanding the ideology or the philosophy of a political party, but rather just to hold a position and be in position to take photos with people and travel. Then I come back to you.
The political prostitution.
Yes.
What causes value of a commodity in a market is the trader producing that product, not the product itself, the controller. We should not pride that if political parties are leaving our universities. It is dangerous that young people are getting less engaged in issues of national importance at the cost of seeing that political parties have been strangled. Actually, I think sometimes when I hear Brian judging the national unity platform, it is still very early and unfair. In the last election, at this very time, they were just looking for a party. In 2020, they were just selling cards. It is their first election, so it is early to judge them. They need time. But the environment they operate in, where you go to an election and they have voted at 4 a.m., you have come at 7. I think the whole issues we are having is issues of integrity and honesty. Our political parties have got a cancer where one man controls whom to substitute there and whom to pull off the pitch. You saw the DP delegates conference where you had students in a bus going to vote for DP. The votes were more than the voters. If that is the UID you're praising, where votes were more, what do you expect of their young people? We are here praising UID. You saw the UID is a branch of Democratic Party. You saw their delegates conference. And then that is the example you want to give today.
I said then.
Political parties today are more of individuals. That a political party will survive more of what the individual is doing than the party itself. That if the Honorable Kyagulanyi did something today, NUP will fall more faster than him as an individual. That if the rain rained very much and Mr. Museveni never woke up, NRM may remain sleeping until he wakes up. So, the issue of commercialization has never come in interest of the players, but of the regulator. If the state, how many people now influence someone to go through the system? A colleague, you will bring a colleague running for UFMP, we have Kidega, you have Amanya and groups to tell you how much they have to pay to RDCs to see that those RDCs are in their camps to help on mobilization. But why has it come that an RDC who is 50 years feels he is a stakeholder in a youth election, he has contribution? Is because of how the state has been jangled. It is more of a capture. I wanted an election to go back maybe like in the movement system where people are voted on individual merit, that we say, whereas there are parties, lining up is fine, we are going to line up, but let's see what people's issues are. But here now, a youth has to go by the party's preparation. Whereas you may be an NRM card member, when in your village NRM has not done enough, you're not supposed to challenge the status quo that Emiara wa Fejitumaraho. Oh, we have no police post in our village. You need to only survive by being NRM in that particular community and winning. So the whole issue has been is that the essence of establishing of the National Youth Act 1993 was to build, to be a manufacturing bed for the next phase of leadership. The Musevenis were under the UPC Youth League. When it failed them, they changed it to overthrow the very UPC that brought them. Why? That is how a party must be. That if you, the young people, feel suffocated, you challenge it. But the whole thing here is that there is no challenge.
Let me just hold you there and then bring back Brian and I get to Leni. From Masawi's analysis, we now see the broader and bigger picture. And it comes down to one thing, that the state and political parties, which of course the act that is supposed to have been used to nurture the leaders, has failed. When you started the discussion, you identified two critical things: the politics of identity, the children of the state and the children of the ordinary people, which still has largely obliterated the election of the special interest groups. So as you summarize on your argumentation, just link up your argument to what you stated first in the beginning.
I've made it very clear that we have two sorts of children in this country, and especially in the political arena: children of the state and children of the ordinary. And I mean, by and large in Uganda, that is a very correct assertion. All these things Masawi is saying are true. When you leave the aspect of children, you then come to the aspect of political prostitution, then you come to the aspect of political party suffrage, suffocation rather. So there is that big thrilling thing that whether you do bottom to up or top to bottom, it still applies. You have political prostitution in the sense that
it's not comfortable. No prostitute is happy.
Okay, we have political.
Or to die fighting. There is no prostitute who is happy that he moves from a party to another. People want to survive.
So
Parties
it's political survival.
Let
me remove the word prostitution and then I put political survival, survivorship. We have colleagues in our age bracket who have moved over 3 political parties. And even our seniors, just because, as you said, you want to survive in what is given because of that different community. But then it comes down the aspect of individual merit. How credible are you? Because you see, some of us, very many people are petty. They'll be like, hey, but this person has moved from here to here to here. Yeah, guawa. Now, you have children of the state who don't necessarily have to
change party.
Whether the status quo is good or bad, they are comfortable. Why? One phone call. And they don't need to pose with these people, oh, this is general, so on. So no, these are people on their quick dial. And that comes down to his issue of RDCs wanting to impact on. These are already their children. I mean, not them as the RDC, but of the broader perspective. So they'll be like, oh, uncle, I'm coming through. Can you please secure for me A, B, C, and D? So he doesn't necessarily have to put in the money as his other colleagues. So Masawi will put in the money, or honorable, can you please, I'm going to come through. Aruho, on the other hand, is just going to come through and be like, hey, uncle, ngenda kuja. Ojira. He will reach when the guys are there. This guy will have to book an appointment with the RDC. That is if that respective person even picks up his phone call.
And even if that person books for
that it will.
Yeah, the voting will happen at 4 a.m. I'll come at 7 when it is done.
And then you have political parties being suffocated in Uganda. Yeah. And NRM also does not escape that equation. Because, as you have said, when you're hearing people saying, oh, but these guys, we came here to vote at 9 a.m. and the voting place had been closed. They said they had voted at 6. Then the next day when you say, let me wake up early, then they say we are going to vote at 10. Then the other day you hear this guys voted at 4 p.m. I think we need to have a regulation on one.
We shall get to that.
Yes.
What EC has to do.
Yes.
But let me just get to Leni. Leni, as someone who has actively participated in this process, monetization politics, have you experienced it as a person, and how has it been in the race so far?
Me, I didn't use money in my election. I just went and talked to people because I was bringing awareness to people in my home area. I've grown up with everyone, I know them. I went out to ask who is interested for these positions, because in our home area, actually, people don't know National Youth Council. They believe district position is the highest. So it was more of bringing awareness to them and teaching them about what do these positions do. Because personally, on my committee, there are many people that, yes, this one is the labor affairs chairperson, but they don't know what they are supposed to do. So there is a difference between being a leader and a placeholder. You are the chairperson, but you don't know what you're supposed to do.
So in your constituents, how would, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the understanding of your constituents on the process, but also on the roles and responsibilities of the leaders, because you're the direct and immediate leaders to them?
My community, I believe there is a percentage, a 50% that understands the roles that the youth village community leaders are supposed to offer to them, and there are those that don't care. For them, they are looking for money of today. They don't care what politics is doing for the people in the area. They just know they are voting. That is up to them. For them, they'll be like, if you have a competitor, shall turn up and vote for you. That is if they like you. Regardless of your party, it's about how they see you as a person or how you've been behaving in community. So with us, in our community, is more of how have you been engaging with people. That's what they consider. But more of the people we have are just more of like placeholders, honestly. Placeholders. Because me, I know the difference between being a leader and knowing what to do, but you might find someone knows and maybe the vice chairperson or the in charge of student affairs, but they have not gone out to reach out to students in the schools in those communities to ask what kind of projects can we do as village youth leaders.
But do you in those positions, do you have a functional budget? Do you have the resources to help you?
Now that is how we say that the village levels don't have budgets. Everything is for fighting for, regardless of the party you're in. You have to fight for everything that you need.
Do you have a political party that you affiliate with?
Yes, I affiliate with NRM.
But you said you ran
NRM. She
She
said.
said she's NRM.
All right.
I'm NRM.
She's solid NRM.
Solid.
Yes, very solid.
So, most of the things in village levels, we have to look for the money. And sometimes it's more of identity politics, whereby it's the particular kids who maybe in the Ewafekuchalo, like this particular person is their family. They are the ones who get first-hand funds. For you people, you hear about these issues later on, like a month later, and yet you're fighting to get budgets to carry out projects in the home area. So sometimes we face challenges of maybe poor information. We don't get things in time. This is not
engagement.
Yes, it's not even about which party do you belong to. You see, even in political parties, there are those classes whereby there are these ones who get first-hand information, and these
then there
ones
is
who
you.
will be pushed back because they feel like you're not a child of someone who is important. So you get information last. That makes your position immobile, regardless of the party.
Interesting. All right. I will just, from this analysis, I will just let us go for a break, because coming back, I want us to interrogate the role of the electoral commission, because civic education is a mandate and a prerequisite under them, and they have budgets allocated to that. And the question is, what are they doing in regards to those budgets? They have done something, but what are the gaps that needs to be identified, and also ascertain the challenges? Why is it that there is no consistent time of voting? Why is it that out of approximately 72,000 villages, you have some villages out of maybe 200 villages in one district, only 16 villages were able to vote, and what happened to the rest? So that is a question we'll have to dissect in the other half of the show. Otherwise, it's been a very interesting first half of the show. See you in a bit. Stick with us.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Youth Roundtable. And allow me introduce our guest who has joined us. He goes by the names of Sam Baluku. He's vying for the position of Member of Parliament Kasese, but also is the president of Uganda Democratic Academy. You're most welcome. But also a proud member and an alumni of the Hope Initiative Club. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, brother. To our dear viewers, my name is Baluku Sam. I'm a lawyer by profession and a student of journalism and communication. And by God's grace, I was elected the president of the Uganda Democracy Academy, third cohort. And as we talk now, yesterday I picked my I returned my expression of interest forms. I'll be running for Member of Parliament for Kasese Municipality, and I think this is my second time. And we are pushing on. Ideally, we believe that as young people, it's time to challenge the status quo. We are the leaders of today and tomorrow. So, Hope Initiative has mentored me since university, and we thank CCG for this great opportunity. We thank CCG for the platform, for the inspiration and motivation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's just get into the conversation. Just before you joined us, we have been ascertaining the challenges that are rooted in the special interest group selection. And the second segment of the show, I wanted us to focus on the role of the EC and the challenges that are pertaining the EC. But before we get into the role of the EC, I would also like to pick your thoughts and your analysis of the recently concluded special interest group selections on the village level. Your observation. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Onen. The recent youth elections, I will just say they were a scam. One, the EC has not done enough.
Isn't that a heavy term to use?
No, okay, I'll put it in quotes. I'll put it in quotes.
Yeah.
The EC has not done enough because really they're supposed to have done some bit of voter education, telling the youth what these positions, how important these positions are to them, and the significance that these positions create to society. Because number one, you realize that 78% of this country's population are young people below age of 35. But then majority are below 20 years, and these are students who are at school. The elections were conducted during school time. And I realized that the majority are students. They're either in high school or university, and they're up and down. So ideally it means the election went back to these were always home. Those who are not productive because who have the time ideally. Because you also realize they were conducted during the days of the week, on a weekday, where those who would also have participated, those who are above 20 to 30, they're either at work or doing a number of things. And then also realize that the NRM has ring-fenced these positions to themselves. Where I come from, I saw even older persons, people who are supposed to be standing for the other SIGs, were also participating, not directly, but also influencing the voters, intimidating. We saw RDCs, security forces also getting engaged. But at the end of the day, the question is, what happens after these elections? Because time and again, you see people standing at a village level, you have committees, but what is their significance? Are these committees productive? Where do they even end at the end of the day? So I realized that even picking nomination forms was a struggle. There were youths who are denied nomination forms, where I come from in Kasese. There are those who are also influenced by their parents. Someone tells you, I'm also running either for councillor, I'm also running for mayor. So you participating under the National Unity Platform or under the DP or FDC will be a big blow to my candidature or to the status of the family. So we realize that much as NRM is bragging to have won a number of seats, but then there are those who are opposition, like where I come from. My youth chairperson is initially opposition, but he told me I just used the NRM platform because, you know, family issues and the others. So ideally, we still have a lot to do, because these elections have lost meaning. We are not looking at the significance and the outcome. Yes, it is a rubber stamp, you can't participate and issues end. Yes, issues end there. So we have to look at the bigger picture on how best the youth can get fully engaged. We also have to see that youth also go through the process of campaigns. You campaign, you come up with a manifesto. Also get to know their roles. There are those who are secretaries for finance, for what, and they know nothing about, like, they don't even know what they are going to do thereafter. So we ideally have a lot to do, especially us who are into the CSOs. We have to really enlighten our youth and then see how best we can chart a way forward.
Interesting. All right. From your discussion and from your analysis, there is one significant challenge that stands out. One is lack of civic education.
Yes.
But also two, what Aruho earlier on brought on, that in these elections we noticed two things. One, the children of the state and the children of the people.
Exactly.
Of course, the politics of identity. So that is, of course, I see the argument still runs around the similar issues that we discussed. But let me start with you, Ivan. In Kalungu district, polling took place in only 17 out of 68 villages.
True.
In Lukaya Town Council, elections were conducted in 3 out of 19 villages, where opposition National Unity Platform swept all the positions. While in Lwawenge sub-county, polling took place at 5 out of 63 villages. There, the NRM carried the day. We have in Kulula sub-county, which has 74 villages. Voting took place in only 9 villages, and the majority positions here were won by NRM. Then we have in Mityana municipality, the exercise was interrupted by the morning downpour, and by midday, elections had not taken place in many villages. All these are accounts and records that show inconsistencies in the process. And of course, for those who study the law, they will term a couple of irregularities that could possibly lead to a nullification of the process. Because there's a lot of irregularities that could have happened.
I don't think there is any young person who has even money to go to court.
Definitely. But the question to you is, right now I want us to ascertain. One, why is it that the election, as according to these records that I've just read a few, out of the approximately 72,000 villages, in a place like Kalungu, you have elections happening. You have elections in the Kalungu district, elections happening in 17 out of 268 villages, among others. What could be the issue?
When I first became a voter in 2016, actually this is my last time voting as a youth. One thing I've known about the NRM, it is famous for winning poorly organized elections. That I know it very well, that as long as the organization is poor, people are not interested, civic education is low, they will always retain their seats. These things are not by accident, that they are in power but they never gave EC maybe money for civic engagement. Like I told you, the role of electoral commission, which is appointed by the president, has his representation, it's what? Execution. It means he voted a weak EC that doesn't deliver the results to Ugandans the way. He's the one who appointed them. He appointed the former failures for MP as commissioners. I see the former MP for NASA. They had the commissioners running these elections. Even the head of special interest groups these are people who know whom they are working for. But like the Honorable Sam has painted, we needed to have significance. Let's not think Ugandans are fools. They go to vote where they don't see value. They just go to fulfill rituals. The reason why it is going deteriorating in the population, that people here who are fighting little on TV and what, needed ego to show that in this position we have command. It is us going to win. Because these elections also justify the population. They arrange people's brains. NRM is strong here in Kampala now, they are going to win. So whatever will be done in that, people can say, they won the youth elections. But if voting was done when other people are or NUP won this polling post. But if it was because you intimidated the NRM people that you will beat them, which faith have you conducted the election in? I think the whole issue around national consensus that young people have to do is far beyond actual elections. We are facing with a lot of cancerous environment when it comes to our affairs. Because if information alone is still a challenge, by the time a parent fears their child to disassociate with them, that it will affect them. And then we say we are democratic, but when I'm FDC and my mom is NRM, she will feel I'm costing her in NRM. I think those are all issues that still would call that if there was supposed to be a review of these special interest groups, at least maybe we go away with special interest groups being by party. And we leave party for MPs and open system, because this is a closed system. One of the biggest inefficiencies of a closed system of college is when they are by party. They lose quality. It is who has the card what wins. But if we say we do away with parties, because similarly, it is very hard for an opposition party like NUP to say it will win the Central Youth MP when there is no law or protection from the infiltration by the state in managing the whole process. We better say for certain categories, no party is allowed. Let people compete by ideas. It will maybe attract even those people who are shying away. Because I've told you that special interest elections, like he has clearly stated, has secretary for student affairs. It was not a public holiday in any school that these students came out to vote. It has secretary for labor affairs. I don't know which maid in which which boss left their maid to go and vote. The maid was supposed to remain mopping, preparing lunch, but is a youth, right? So as long as we do them for a fashion, we can come here, pretend, I'm the chairman, but as long as schools remain open, when their students' voice needs to start from here at the village level, laborers remained at work. They were in industrial parks, they were locked, even the gate had the padlock. You get out at 4. They went back home and got information elections took place. You will never expect to reap what you never sowed. First, there has been a disservice by those in power, including Mr. Museveni and Byabakama themselves. They want us to settle for mediocre, funny thing. Second, even the whole legislation has been betrayed. I think as young people, majority even in political parties, they are turning them spectators. If you're not a spectator, you're a follower, or you're part of the argument. Bloggers, you share people's posters. At the time when you're strongest, when you're most wise, it is hard to say that at his youthful age, whatever knowledge he puts into being an MP, an elder person can do. It is impossible. It is the time when you're strongest, you're more divergent, you can read. I don't believe in 50s you can read the number of pages he reads in journalism and law now. But when we are underutilized to live as mediocres at the time when we were supposed to be at our peak of discovery, it is only the state that benefits that it will have gone away with another generation. It will welcome another one as they protect themselves. So the whole essence is, once the village election has been handled poorly, it is a reflection of all the other elections. Students who are in school, they never voted their secretary for student affairs.
As we had the person, our student affairs is a student.
But the fellow students in uniforms show up who are back.
No, the person, in Mulago, there are a lot of medicine schools. So the lady is from Mulago Paramedical School. So for them, they are not like they are monitored or that. They have different school time intervals.
Okay, that is an advantage. By way it disadvantages, you find that person is only a student this year in Mulago, and next year he will be working in a BIM. So he was only there for the election. But I needed the village students who reside in the village.
No, the person who is, we have, as I told you, our whole committee, we have grown
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, that
So
is
even
the-
the person is a student but also stays there.
That is far better. But once you look at the structural composition, I think these youth elections would solve Uganda of the House Parliament, the what, the duplication of responsibilities. You would not need too many RDCs to control security if you had very many youth leaders who are functional. You would not need GSOs, security spies everywhere in the whole countries. Spies all over, dartening everywhere is I'm a spy, I'm a this, I'm a who. You will not need too much spying if you had leaders, because leaders lead by example.
Okay.
You had the right people for secretary for women affairs. You would not even need too many women MPs because she would be functional. The girls in our community having issues of sexual reproductive health, sexual exploitation, harassment, unskilling, being isolated by on issues of gender violence, land, what, they would have a meeting with her and say, we are our secretary. But as long as you make them less function, she will also feel in the very spirit, as if they will take that she's idle. First of all, it will be in her own will, but she's not supported by anyone. So the ceremony was done, the fashion show was done, the person who wanted actually the script is done. They are going to the parish script to play another one.
All right. Let me just come. You have something to say?
No, but what I wanted to tell him is more of like, yes, what you've said is right, but most times the challenges we face, now as we have already, as our village committee, we have come up with projects that we want to do. The challenges that everyone has been saying in every village is, now where are we going to get funds to do what we want? Because the first
There's a
thing
PDM.
yes, the PDM, some people even don't receive any. They are telling people that once you get PDM, you have to cut off like 100K for us so that you get the money. So if you don't make that deal, no PDM for you. So it is more of like, the area has people who are like, if you say that maybe I want to continue maybe to parish, I know that maybe I might say I lie with NRM, but also there are those challenges among youth in parties whereby maybe if you want to continue to a parish level, there's a challenge of someone who will say, or you because you're not a child of someone who is influential in the home area. So those are the challenges that are there in different areas, and also projects. The first thing as we established was a savings group. Now other projects take time. Now if I say that I'm Secretary of Female Affairs and I want to reach out to young ladies, some people have put away the youth positions whereby they feel these positions will not do anything for them.
Impact.
Yes, so if I go to young ladies and tell them maybe I want to do a project or something, we do an outreach in terms of affairs for women, they'll feel like, what are you going to do? What change are you going to make that these elders have failed to do? Because in most areas,
Ripple effect.
the people we have, they do not bring services back to the young people. The money is eaten at the elder level. And when they come back here, they tell you that there is nothing for you. So that means some people are forced maybe to pick from their pockets in order to do a project or something in the home area.
Quite absurd. Brian, EC has a sole responsibility of organizing elections. And the process of organizing, you ought to conduct civic education. There's a budget allocated for that. And in doing so, I saw they made a call on the various print media and also on television, calling out for civil society organizations that are willing to partake in doing so. They have just accredited them, I think, last week. And we have elections in the next 6 months. By January, we shall be conducting elections. Is that sufficient time, considering the challenges that are already going on? We already have elections for a very critical constituents in the special interest groups, of which young people fall in, that have already started voting and are very illiterate of what they're supposed to do, and yet you're just accrediting civil society organizations to conduct this.
Thank you so much. One, the honest fact is that there is no time. I think that is something very true to the fact of the Ugandan jurisdiction. I think by and large, the whole sensitization program should have begun way, way, way before. You see, for example, I'll give you, in Uganda we have this civic education of ogenda londa ningenda londa ono kale tugende tulonde. But it's not based on, no, Masawi has done A, B, C, and D. Oyo atero tambula ne samwana wagunde, then we'll go and vote that person. But if EC had, and that's what he was saying, it is no longer a move that we say, oh, it happened, Bambi, let's get apologies. If the person who is giving you funds releases it late, as she's saying, projects don't work. So the funds should have, first of all, come in the right time. EC gives a good roadmap, because you see that the key voting process there is the special interest groups. Have a thorough campaign period for that. Campaign period in the sense that civic engagement. Let's go on TV, let's go on radios, let's put it in the print media, let's have accreditations done before, let's have regulations put in place before. At least let's give that ample time so that even schools comprehend their timetables within your framework. That addresses the issue of all student bodies what, yeah? Because then they will know, oh, can we give these guys a week or maybe 2 to do whatever they are doing and then come back and feed within the education system. But you see that is not being done. So now when you kill it at that stage, now the next stage you are going in for the parish setup is also very critical. What EC I think has failed to do is provide a clear roadmap on when do we do civic engagements and as well as differentiating between electoral commission civic engagement campaign period as well as the political roadmap campaign period, because you're having all the things running at the same time. These guys are saying I want to be voted for ABC and D. EC is also saying come out and vote these people. Like the basic Ugandan jurisdiction needs a person to address their mind to a specific thing. The way they are going to, because in the future they are going to now bring up this whole thing of MPs, please vote for MPs and this and this. That is the same energy they should have put in for special interest groups. That is the same energy they should put in for the parish structure. You get? So that we reduce on...
These are critical people that actually stay
yes. Every day. Voting for presidency is fine because at that stage, people already know who they want to vote for. But special interest groups it is a tender care. The parish structure is a tender care because you see, who suffers the most here? It's the people at the grassroots level. So those are the people that ought to be educated the most critically. Take time, do politicians call it door-to-door campaign. Take time and reach on ground. It reduces all this political laziness. Because those of Masawi are going to come, and Masawi at this stage already knows who he is going to vote for presidency. Baluku knows who is going to vote for presidency. Leni already knows who she's going to vote for presidency. Brian knows. But it doesn't kill you telling us, oh, you guys, the special interest groups are very key. Why? They can lobby for A, B, C, and D. They can do A, B, C, and D. So vote a person who can fall within that caliber. Then put qualifications. And I've said it before. Let's put qualifications for some of these things. Let Electoral Commission come out and within their regulatory framework and establish these things. We are going in for the MP. After the parish level.
Because you find there is a secretary for student affairs, but the chairman doesn't need to be educated.
Exactly. So
it's the member of the community.
We as a country, as Uganda by large, we shouldn't be in 2025 clocking 2026, and we are still having MPs who contest and do not have the basic of a bachelor's degree. Let's have some things set. Yes, we are going to knock out a number of people, but can we at least benchmark the very basic?
Knock out
saying that yes, let EC come out with a regulation saying for you to contest as a member of parliament in Uganda from today henceforth, at least have a list of a bachelor's degree. If you want presidency, have the list of a master's degree. We are going to knock out a number of people, true, but let's sort the basic things first. It's the same way we are saying let them go. Now that is past that stage. from the parish development, let them come out and do a thorough assessment. You guys, we are struggling as a country because of the basic things of, one, ability to think, secondly, ability to comprehend, thirdly, ability to understand that someone affiliating with NUP, NRM, FDC does not mean that they are your enemy. It's just a choice they have made. Then fourth, ability to understand that a journalist is not a terrorist, because this is what we are going into. So if the state, if electoral commission fails to on that basic civic engagement, then do you expect me to see Masawi? We are campaigning. Do you expect me to see him as a comrade then? No, I'll see him as an enemy. Yeah, because we are all fighting for our political party to win. That is it.
Sam, you are going to be faced in the next few months a very challenging but also interesting adventure. Running for position of Member of Parliament of Kasese municipality is a no joke, and it's a bold decision for a young man. And your constituency is one that I believe also requires the civic education. And from your recent experience and the fact that you've also run for office in 2021, how is the civic knowledge of your constituency, and has it done enough in your constituency to raise the awareness among your members?
I don't think so. EC has not done enough. Number one, as we enter this political season, I want us to really, as young people, address a number of issues. I don't know up to now why 78% of the country's population is being referred to as a special interest group. I think there's a very big problem. You're the majority, and then
The law has not been updated.
And then you have
by the numbers of
being called special
1993. In 1993, there were around 4 million, actually 2.8 million young people.
now the other thing, as the world is growing, also need to really adopt a digital democracy. One thing I've realized these days, most of us are on media. The EC should really adopt. They may not do either door to door or the chats they used to do when we were still young and what.
But it's the methods that still.
Yeah, they are. Yes, they are using old solutions to solve new problems. So we can adopt digital democracy so that this information goes directly to the people, goes directly to the country's largest population. And then the other thing, we are the biggest, we are the largest in number. But then the challenge is when we show up, there are a lot of limitations. For example, you told me you just said that I'll be running. There are a lot of issues that affect young people. Like I said, we are 78% of this country's population. But then nomination fees is at 3 million. So ideally, raising this amount of money currently is not easy for a young man who is trying to put their life together. So the only way they try to hook us is taking us into special interest groups. And to me, I think they are using the SIGs as a mobilization strategy. They use it as a way of manipulating the young people. That now that as a committee, there's something that you want to achieve, either you must be NRM, if you want to achieve big and what, you must do this, write a concept and bring it to us so that we can give you something. So ideally, the whole situation is a mess. And the biggest challenge is ours as young people. Because you realize that when it comes to the digital space, we are always making noise. We are always making noise, we are always doing this and that, but ideally we are not on the ground. Because you realize that the people who participated in the SIGs at the village level, these are either dropouts, majority are dropouts, most of them are unemployed, but we the allies, those that have gone to school, who come here to speak English and do a lot of talking, who are not part. Most of us did not even participate. We are supposed to start with ourselves, go to the ground, and then challenge the status quo. But the challenge is that we remain seated. We see these young people participate and struggling. What have we done as young people, really, to also sensitize our very own?
No,
So
there was an argument in the first half. The issue of young people being disinterested. You'd find an elite like Brian, like Masawi, like Leni, like Drake, who know the challenges of this country.
They have ego. They think they were born educated.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge, the reason as to why we are losing interest is because we just think we are being manipulated. And the truth is, we are being taken for a ride. You'll also realize that the opposition political parties, I've seen a number coming on TV and then saying this and this happened. But truth be told, opposition did not mobilize enough.
Exactly.
We did not mobilize to our expectations and what. These people do not even have. You will see that NRM started with the National Youth League. There were the Youth League elections. So you realize that these people had already organized in that way. And it became easier for them now to mobilize for now the mainstream.
An argument for the opposition would be that the NRM, since it's the largest in parliament, they receive the largest portion of money under IPOD. But besides that, opposition parties, for example, the second largest, which is National Unity Platform, could possibly receive a significant amount of money, but do not have enough to maybe establish structures up to Yumbe, close to the border, the other side in the country. But a counter argument to that would be, BCJ in I think in 2010 came up with that
Power 10,
yes, which somewhat worked. So the current opposition would say we do not have enough resources to organize those structures. But even if we try to organize those structures, you would say we are illegally convening or associating.
I want us to look at this. I don't think building structures requires a lot of money, especially at village level. This is just something small that we can do as the young people at the village. We mobilize ourselves, elect leaders.
Is that the role of young people, or it's the role of the political party?
Of course, the political parties aid this. You get the point. They're supposed to facilitate, actually. Yeah. But the real structure building and everything starts with us. I think the political parties have not done enough. They've not empowered us to really create these structures. So you realize that we've spent 5 years from 2021, and now we are fidgeting. We are now fidgeting to place our youth on youth structures.
Okay, should therefore the opposition blame their shortfalls, or they should accept their shortfalls because they failed?
Me, I think the opposition must really accept that they've not done what is required. They've not done much. Because we've spent 5 years from 2021, but there has not been any clear roadmap. But either DP is going for youth structures, either NUP will be creating structures here and there. They've not done enough, to me. They've not done enough. We really need to stop the blame games and participate actively in this. So that if we had started the processes around 2022 or 2023, I hope by now, save for PFF that was recently registered. But I think we're supposed to take the blame. Because now we are the largest population. And we are saying, yes, opposition for the NUP, we ran second in the recent presidential elections. But then when it comes to the structures, you've seen Bob Wine moving around the country. You see masses, crowds following him. But we are not translating the masses into structures. We don't even have a database of these masses. That is where the challenge is.
Let me hold you there. Brian, something I've noticed in the argumentation of some, we have political parties, but political parties are individuals.
Yes.
We have the National Unity Platform that is known for Bobi Wine. You have the National Resistance Movement that is known for Museveni. You have the DP that currently is known for Norbert Mao. You have PFF that is currently known by, you have Nandala and Semuju and those individuals. Then you have FDC that for now is...
For purposes of clarification, FDC is known for Nandala and yes.
Oh yes. but previously it was known for Colonel Besigye.
Mm.
Then you have
ANT.
You have ANT, which is known for Mugisha Muntu. All these are individuals. And all these political parties, for purposes of context, if, let's say today, the individual decides to step down, most likely the political party may not survive.
Mm.
Which now brings me to the argumentation that was raising, the ability not to raise structures, which I want to bring you briefly, and I come to Leni. What has gone wrong with political parties in identifying just in an individual and failed to realize that you need structures to properly have a strong and unified political party that can cause change?
Thank you. I think a number of reasons. One, failure to create a stable database. And then secondly, the illusion that you are going to live for long at the helm of that respective political party. When you look at, I'm a follower of CCM. When you follow CCM very closely, they have a very good database, and he hinted on it before. CCM has a very good database. When you look at, I followed Malema when he was speaking, saying that ANC as well has a very good database. Now, even if you have to go to Australia, look at the Green Party. It has had a database that dates back way.
That is a very weird example. You remain here.
I know. I just wanted to give a greater. I mean, outside.
You remain in Africa.
Okay, let's remain within Africa. Let me begin with a second illusion of most of our leaders thinking they will stay at the helm of that respective political party for long. You fail to empower those outside your sec, because now in the sec you know them broadly, and then you have, let me put it in the idea of NRM. You know those who are in the NRM Women's League currently. You know those who are in the NRM Youth League currently. You know those who head the regions, let's say the NRM Eastern Region, NRM Central Region, the ones who head those respective, the current ones. But then it's very hard for you to make a track of who was holding that position before, because you see those positions are 5-year positions. Now it's very hard for you to say, oh, this person, where did they go? You understand? That brings you to the issue number one, saying that you failed to have a database, because with a database it's very easy to follow up.
Yeah, true.
Did this person die? If this person is alive, what are they doing? How are they doing? What are their plans? Yes, because that is how you empower citizens. He says that NUP had the numbers, and he made an example of His Excellency Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi. The truth is, in the recent elections, the presidential elections, wherever he used to go, there are numbers. If NUP had turned those numbers into a database, it's very easy for you to follow up with figures. And making a database doesn't need you to go analog. You can go digital, have digital registration, and then maybe approval, you give the person a day. You see how when you're applying for a passport, you can do everything digitally, and then they give you a day to come.
Biometrics.
Yes, by notice. So then the person comes. I mean, they could put in, or they could even save up in advance to come. NRM as well. When you see President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni moving through, His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni moving through, you see numbers. If NRM could also turn this into a database and have it, and I debated this with, I presented it then when NRM started the ideological clinics. I have a submission I made before the Right Honorable Richard Odong, asking them to make a database. Why had I made that issue then? I think it was 2021 when the ideological clinic started. It's because when we joined university politics, at that time I remember I was friends with Baluku Sam. I've known this man here recently, but I was friends with Baluku Sam, and we debated this. We found the likes of Maxon Muhwezi, who was at Makerere University. The number of gentlemen who were at KIU, I've forgotten his name. But those gentlemen had served. Now, the issue was, when you are an NRM chapter chairperson at the university, you're a very powerful person. But when these people left those positions, we failed to see them again. And yet to us, yes, whereas they were in NRM, their thinking, their oratory power, their bargaining skill was top tier. So the calculation is, if you have a database, it is easy to track. Let me give you. He has said 5 years. a period of 5 years is very easy for you to comprehend a number of issues. If opposition had said, okay, towards general elections, NRM usually has its structures for the youth. Us as NUPA, why don't we do our things in 2024? Our structuring of the youth structure, our women's league, and all that. You see, when you do that, then you have a database that Aruho Brian on this and this day contested for this and won. So later on, whether he wins or not, it is very easy for you to now to say, if we have a new cabinet swearing in, even if it's 2 terms after, guys, is it possible for you to come and orient this new cabinet? Is it possible for you to come and empower? If the person switch to another political party, fine. But it helps you track on numbers. Now, where does the issue of tracking help? If you have, let's say, registered, let me just give a case scenario of 4.5 million subscribers to your political party. And then you have these voting centers. When Electoral Commission comes out and says, overall, the general presidential election, we had numbers that tally up to A, B, C, and D. But then we have a census which says, in Uganda, these are the number of people we have. EC is saying these are the number of votes we have. It is easy for a political party to question and say, no, but if we have this number of people, then either there is a problem within us internally, or there is a problem with your system. It is very easy for you to tally. So you cannot come and say that in Intungamo district, we have 5 million, let me just say 5 million people registered to NRM, and then somehow you say we had 6.5 million votes. Yeah.
Okay. Leni, I just want to pick your thoughts as we wind up the segment, the show, on the issue of way forward. What can the EC do differently in the coming years? Because we are already almost ending the phase of the special interest group elections.
Okay. I think I'm going to speak from like the perspective of the challenges we faced by EC at home. EC, they do not give proper information, honestly. They didn't reach to our home areas like the door-to-door movements. Instead, we were the ones who had to go and seek phone numbers of EC people to tell them to come to our home areas and start communicating to people. When we tell them, like, maybe we want to check our names in the youth registers to know people who are eligible for voting. If you're not, we get for you, or we look for the information of when you're supposed to go and register. The people that are assigned to the different villages actually don't be there for their duty. You find someone on Monday to Friday, they appear once. And you have to call this person so that they remember, oh, it's my job to act as maybe the person to give information from EC in our home area. So our way forward, I feel they should, first of all, increase the number of people who are handling EC issues in an area. For example, in our area, we had one person who was handling all the issues. So everyone who comes from maybe this village, the other one, they have to go to that one person. And that one person works once in a week. What is that? That is negligence of work that you're given to. So I believe the other thing they should do is the EC people that they're bringing in our home areas, let them first mentor them and teach them about the issues in regards to youth elections and how they should be there for youth. You would tell, and maybe a young person will go to the EC people to communicate and try to know when voting will be. EC, I expect an EC person to tell this young person, these positions are there, they are open, and this is how you can contest. Either you can be independent or affiliate to a party. Those things were not there in our home area. We had to look for these people. Another thing is offering like this civic educational awareness to everyone in community. That thing is, you can put chats maybe in different villages. We don't have time to read chats. We don't have that time. But maybe call in maybe community small meetings whereby they can communicate or go door to door. You might find someone does not move a lot, but when you go to their door knock, 5 minutes maybe of communicating and trying to tell them what is happening in regards to the political atmosphere, they can know. You might find someone has been interested, but they didn't know what was taking place. Now, as the youth elections got done last Thursday, but I had people who approached me and told me, we didn't know that they were voting. We didn't know that youth were contesting. So me too, I did what was in my capacity to approach those that I knew, I grew up with this one, this person stays here, let me go knock. Let me ask them, do you want to join youth leadership like that? So you can't reach everyone. and most people are not aware.
So in short, you did the work of the EC.
Yes, because
She was the EC.
we had to go
paid.
there. We had to go there and talk to people. You might find someone thinks the EC, maybe the youth elections are going to take place a month after. Yet now we are already in that process. There are those who want to stay on village level and others who want to continue up, heading for the ranks.
All right.
They should pay her. She did a lot of work.
Thank you.
True.
Sam, your way forward and concluding remarks.
Thank you, Onen. Our political parties should build structures. When you have structures, it becomes easy for you to mobilize and also identify potential candidates. I think the youth elections were ignored and NRM used that to their advantage. Truth be told, NRM has created structures and it becomes so easy for them to mobilize. Unlike the opposition that is really struggling so hard. I want us to translate the masses, the crowds, into numbers and translate the crowds into a database now, so that when you have special interest group elections, you're able to identify youth, you're able to identify women, either you're in position to identify elders, so that it becomes easier for you to do what? To do a smooth run. Because ideally, the youth elections, I'll use it as a pilot study. We already know where our strength is and where our weakness is as the opposition. We have to really do something. And then also implore the EC to really embrace digital democracy. Most people, at least these days, can access internet, either on radio, on TV. At least we don't need the chats and what, but they can do this through digitalizing their work through their social media handles and also other things, or even translate this civic engagement into our local languages. They can even employ some other techniques. They can use drama to pass the information and the other things. Then as I conclude, to the young people, I think we are the big stakeholders in all this. Let's actively participate. Let's close the book of Lamentations and open the book of Acts. We really need to show the country that we are serious. No, we are unserious by the way, and that's why we are being taken for a ride. We really need to come up, speak one voice, regardless of our political affiliation, and then take up these big spaces. Yes, the Constitution allows us that at 18 you qualify to run for Member of Parliament. Yes, let us take up these positions. Let us take these people on. There were people arguing about Moses Ali, but do we have, how many people have come up to contest against him? And then as we also go through these processes, we should not forget that we are not going to remain young. There's also that big issue. You know, we address a lot of issues. We know we are young. We know.
Next election, I will not.
Next election, you will not be a youth. So we also have to prepare ourselves for that transition. That yes, much as we have these good arguments, we should really show the elders that we are really ready to take them on.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons as to why these people are not willing to surrender power to us is because we've not shown them the right direction. We are still having a lot of issues. We are still eating each other up. We really have to be up to the game. We really need to synergize and also address our issues as a generation. Otherwise, there's a lot to do. There's a lot that is lacking. For the time I've had, I've shared with a number of youths. Yes, the intimidations and what come in, but I believe we are not bothered at all. We are not bothered. Let us take up these big positions. Let us show up, participate. Let us innovate and engage.
True.
Thank you so much.
Participate, engage,
And
Interesting.
innovate.
Brian,
Yes, please.
concluding remarks.
Thank you. I urge my fellow youth to always contest when these opportunities come
Are
through.
you contesting?
I contested. I did contest. I didn't pass through. But I do encourage my fellow youth to contest when the time comes, please contest. And so that we also do away with the excuses of irregularities, or these people are old, or first show up and then see how things go. But then also secondly, to those that have not yet contested and are willing to contest in future, we have a number of leadership academies that run through the country. I urge them to go through these academies. There is the Julius Nyerere Leadership Center at Makerere University. There is UDA that is headed by Baluku Sam, and a number of them. There is NIMD, there is the multi-party, what is it? Youth Forum. I highly recommend these forums to my age mates and those younger, if you are interested in leadership, politics, and governance, because the debates that move on in those spaces can trigger one or two things, but then also the amount of research that is taken in can also help you understand that deep analysis of what certain things are and their impacts. For example, corruption, for example, bad governance, for example, coups, and the related. To all those that want to contest now at the MP level, I kindly pray that later on, after this voting has been done, if you are still interested in being an MP, whether you have won or not, please get time and go back to campus and get a bachelor's degree, so that our level of thinking is put at a later, at a more developed stage. To my brothers and sisters in opposition, I kindly request that you get
but
time.
there is no work in parliament lately that is being done that needs a degree. The names have it on the series, does that need a degree?
Yes, but you see, my argument is that education is very key, especially to a growing democracy like Uganda. So my colleagues who are already in the political structures, I kindly request that sit down with your heads, whether you're NRM, whether you're in opposition, and develop a comprehensive database so that we have easy flow and easy track of where these people are, so that if someone left a political party, it's very easy for you to amend and get to know why they left the political party. If a person has joined from opposition to your party, also know why maybe your party is either fairing in terms of critical thinking or in terms of mobilization strategies. That is it.
Masawi.
Yes, I want to appreciate my colleagues. They have given a lot of divergent views. Issues of database are not easy. You saw the NRM in Kawempe say it had 200,000 voters in their register. They got 9,500 votes after rigging. So, you see in Kampala the NYC structures, the Chirabos, the NRM, but there is no NRM MP, even one in Kampala. But the whole youth structures are NRM. NUP was not there in the last election. But why doesn't NRM have even a single MP? Road Councillor 5, you need to first remove your shoes and pass rivers to get one. So, the whole Ugandan patterns that shape elections are a bit different. When I was in the FDC, I was rallied by the president then, General Mugisha Muntu, who was serving as the party president. Issues of structures and organization were the biggest agenda in always his leadership, and I think it is how it caught me in my level to also join. He comes from Kasese, he can tell you how much FDC was organized then. Part of the whole issues that have turned the organization and mobilization a challenge is the issue of finances. Whereas you may organize, you'll become a soccer academy for sporting director in NRM who have the money to come and say, Masawi, I'm taking you to go and play the right back for the NRM. Because FDC has mobilized you, but you can't unite us in poverty. Right. You only unite people when their biggest goal is poverty and hope. So these people have, you cannot blame any political party, even UPC, that if whole president's wife is in the serving government as a minister. The issue of sporting and what has been caused by the way they have the stakes. Once there are bigger salaries for an MP, local governments have nothing to eat. No one wants to. I would be urging very many youth to go and occupy local governments because they are empty. We need to occupy this to gain efficiency. Most youth are educated, they are elite. Local governments are facing issues of planning, which are basic. They need the intellect. Issues of restructuring and aligning, monitoring, and these are issues that need educate. But all elites in every district look at one thing. going to parliament. They ignore local governments. They have shy, even these youth elections, when you participate, they think you're either idle, unemployed. Yeah, these are the things they tell you. Hey, even someone who still sleeps with their parents calls you who has your own residence to be unemployed while you went to vote. So the whole issue here, as I conclude, I think it is a stakeholder call, because this country is not for a single political party. It is for not for the EC. It is not for only those who participated. But we need to see that we improve on our engagement. Whereas we are having elections, these elections should reflect into something. I don't want to give you how Kampala looks when it is naked. At Kampala, when it is dressed up, it is NUP. But you go the entire youth elections of 2020 were a majority NRM. But they can't be voted for MP. Then who voted those youth? How comes the youth were voted but the MPs weren't voted? It means either those youths cheated or they were just implanted. These youth elections should be a hub for building leaders, not to be a system of wasting our time. It is Uganda that benefits when the youth elections are of quality, they are commendable, they have produced significant amounts of leaders that are available for nurturing, not any political party. When I look at Tayebu Anita, among the FDC, one was a deputy treasury general, one was a mobilizer, food soldier, Tayebu. I don't see that FDC is losing because he's speaker. The whole country benefits the day he's chairing parliament. So the whole issue of fair, I know we have interest, but the whole thing of people taking pride in poorly organized elections, they will pay when it comes to certain positions, where you will have a structure down, but up you have nothing. How does that come about? So I call all the young people to participate meaningfully, build consensus. Avoid too much hatred over limitations of identity, ego. The other people just shifted to come to our village. Is not born here. Leadership has no way to do with genetics. It is all about ideas and sharing. Simple.
Otherwise, guys, it's been wonderful having you all and sharing me the brilliant ideas. I know the viewers out there have also had an interesting show. The ideas that have been shared have been very interesting and vibrant. Otherwise, thank you very much for always watching. This has been brought to you by the Center for Constitutional Governance. To the production crew, Paul, Brittany, and Ronald for making this possible. Thank you. To Center for Constitutional Governance for bringing you this conversation. Thank you. You can as well continue subscribing to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms, that is on X, on LinkedIn, but also on TikTok. We go by at Civic Space TV, but also at Center for Constitutional Governance. Otherwise, my name is Douglas Onen. See you same place, same time. Bye-bye.